All right, how's it going, everybody? My name is Antonio, and not only am I pretending to know how to read, I'm also pretending to be in my natural habitat. But this is not a dungeon, so clearly I'm not in my natural habitat. I'm in Florida. I'm here for the Rule Symposium in Natural Resource Investing. This is Rick Rule's conference. It was 4 days long, so this was an eventful week, to put it mildly. I think I spoke to over 100 people. I think maybe 150, something like that. Many of you actually came to shake my hand, say hi, which was very cool. But I was also doing interviews. I did, I think, 35 or 40 interviews. So I interviewed, I think, all of the guest speakers that were here, or the big names. So Lobo Tigre, Rick himself, Adrian Day, Grant Williams, and so on and so forth. I think I interviewed all of them. And then a couple of companies. I think 20-something companies I interviewed. So I'll be publishing all of those interviews over the coming days. I think I'll split it into two. Really, to make it easier on the eyes, I suppose. At least the companies who wanted to talk to me, by the way, because I didn't book any interviews, I was just kind of ambushing them, as I like doing, so it was kind of nice. I'll publish that. But the point of this video really is to figure out, is this thing worth coming to? Like, is it worth the time, money, and effort? This is Florida in July, and although no alligators trying to kill me yet, there was not even a single crocodile trying to kill me. I still just went around the conference asking people, is it worth coming to this conference? What would you rate this conference on a scale of 1 to 10? So attendees, media, the guest speakers, the companies. I was asking everybody, what would you rate this conference on a scale of 1 to 10? So I'll play that clip here in a second. But also let me know what you thought. I mean, if you came to this conference, what did you think? Is it worth coming to? And if you didn't come, don't feel disappointed. There's a link in the description of this video down below that is going to let you play all of the recordings, so all the guest talks, all the company presentations and whatnot. You can play that on demand for the remainder of 2024. There's a link in the description down below. So I think that's about it. Let's listen to the people and see what they thought of this conference.
Right now, after Nomi Prin's talk, a 10. I thought Nomi was just absolutely outstanding. I brought Nomi here because I think in terms of adding knowledge around your resources, you start with high quality global macro that isn't available in the popular media. Her background in Congress, first of all, where I would never deign to join, and on Wall Street, where she was a partner at Goldman Sachs, means that she has the ability to talk to the intersection of Wall Street and Washington from the belly of the beast, which very few people do. It's not like she's just an observer. She is and was a participant, and I thought she did a wonderful job setting the stage for the conference. Of course, I'm partial to the exhibitors because I and or my advisors own shares in all of them. At most conferences, of course, the qualification to be an exhibitor is a check that cashes. Here, we need to own them, which is a very, very, very different circumstance. So far, I'm very happy with the outcome of the conference. I haven't had the ability to go online and see how our virtual attendees are faring. Last year, we did less well at that than we should have. This year, we've hired Paul Harris, a roving reporter, to be the interchange between the online conference and the physical conference. But if we succeed at that, we will have succeeded mightily. We have a great range of speakers.
And I can hear those speakers after the conference because I'm walking around. I don't have the ability to sit in and listen to as many as I would like to. So can I play that?
Great question. We added that feature some years ago. Every single proceeding here, including the breakout sessions, the breakfasts and the lunches, are taped. Live attendees and online attendees will have access to those recordings for the balance of 2024. It's an important question because even if you weren't walking around, we're going to give you 60 hours of programming with this conference. The ability of somebody even as young as you, never mind somebody as old as I, to comprehend 60 hours of material in 4 days is nil. To get value out of the conference, you're going to have to listen to the recordings.
You had me at lunch and breakfast. What are you going to do, send that to my home in Belgium too?
Well, it depends. You know, for a price, anything can happen.
Oh, it's a 12. No, I love this conference. I have known Rick for a very long time. I know him to be a very straight up, analytical, super investor, and I know that the companies that come here have incredibly high value and high caliber, regardless of what point in whatever project they are at any given moment. It's an incredibly good place to look at evolving projects already in play, and even talk about ones that we don't even know exist, but are being potentially planned, at a future level. So it's a fantastic conference. Also, people are really nice. It is a place where you build connections, you build relationships, you see the same people coming year after year and sort of strengthen them. And it's the one conference I would not miss. I schedule my entire annual calendar around making sure that I can be here.
Well, I just got in last night, so I haven't actually participated yet. It's been interviews so far, but I will say, actually, my wife was just asking me about this. You said that Rick was one of your favorite conferences. Do you really mean that? Like, well, A, it's me. Of course I meant it if I said it. But yeah, I mean, we have a dinner for clients here, or readers, and we have 40 RSVPs. Like, that's the most of anywhere I go. So and I'm not just saying, well, there's more people here, but I'm saying that's like my people who, want to hear what I have to say, or like my way of thinking enough to give me a few minutes of their time. So I think for me, that's awesome. I like being around like-minded people who get it. I mean, I have been accused, my friend, of being the voice of reason. I mean, of course, voice of reason, that's good. That's terrible marketing. Nobody wants to hear from the voice of reason. They want clickbait headlines. They want gold's going to the moon tomorrow, right? So if there's a conference that attracts people that want to hear from a voice of reason, well, that's important to me.
Okay, I mean, so I came here last year and with zero expectations. Everybody said I was nuts to come here in July, Florida. But I came away with, it's a very different audience. They're very smart people that made their money in different things, and now they're investing in the resource sector. So there's no real reason to talk down to anybody. They're very smart in what they do. They just don't know the mining sector. So there's lots of parallels that you could talk about and relate to them. And when I've talked to companies, and this is another way of finding out how good the conference is, they talk to the people that are walking the aisles, and they can see volume in their share price because these people are buying. We didn't see that. We haven't seen that for like years in most conferences, but this conference you still see that. So that's why people are willing to come down here. It's not cheap to actually present here, but there's a lot of reward here in terms of the people you are presenting in front of.
Right. Scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, sorry. I mean, most of the conferences now are below 5.
Wow.
Because as I talk to companies, most of them, you're talking to the same people, meaning everybody else everywhere you go. This one is a bit different, and as you probably know, institutional equity is getting depleted. Family offices are taking their money out, and these are the sort of conferences that present you in front of these people. So I would give it an 8 in terms of the quality of the people that you're meeting.
I'm a big fan of this conference. I've come pretty much every year for the past 10 years, and we actually have 6 holdings in attendance. At MJG, we have a very concentrated portfolio. We only have 18 publicly traded positions at the moment. So the fact that you can come to one conference, there's only 50 names here, but out of those 50, we own 6 of them, so a full third of our portfolio is here. So I get a lot of value from being able to catch up with our existing positions, and then there's a lot of like-minded investors that I'm friendly with to trade ideas and what have you. So if I had to rank it at 1 to 10, I would give it a 10.
Well, being English, I never give everything full marks, so I'll give it a 9.
Okay. Even if it's in Florida in July?
Oh, but we're inside in a hotel. I mean, this is gorgeous. I mean, can you think of a better venue for having a conference?
And everyone's inside. I mean, if this was July in BC, they'd be outside.
Yeah, well, exactly. No, I know a lot of people have said, I don't want to go to Florida in June, but in July. But no, that's not a problem. I mean, this is a really great conference, and the facility inside is just wonderful.
But I come every year. I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know. Rick's a dear friend. He puts on a great conference. I come back every year. I meet a lot of the same people every year, which is good to see them. A lot of new people every year, and there's a lot of high quality people here, and I come back every year because I love it.
You sure that's not Florida bringing you here every year?
No, do you know what? The one thing I would say, when this conference was in Vancouver, I was really happy. I love Vancouver in July. I'm not so keen on Florida in July. But,
Okay.
but you know, it's still, even though they've moved it here, it's been a great conference the last 3 or 4 years they've had it here.
Oh, I just got here last night at 2 a.m. Rick does a very good conference. The companies here are, for the most part, high quality, and relative to most of the conferences I go to, I'd put it in the top 3.
I know you guys don't agree on everything. So what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 10?
9, 10, 9 or
Okay.
10. I'm not giving you direct answers. I'm sorry. 9.5.
Well, I tell you what, I'm a big fan of Florida, and a lot of people don't like Florida, and I'm always shocked why. But Florida's a great place to be for a conference like this. I mean, this is a comfortable place to be, and I think if people want to learn in a comfortable environment, this is the one, right? I mean, this is nice. I mean, look, back in the day, 20 years ago when we were having actual bull and bear markets in the mining business, I went to a lot of conferences, and when they're hard to get to and it's hard to get in and hard to get around, you can't do what you need to do, what you need to learn. And so this is a cozy place to learn. I mean, that's why I'm here, and I wish I could stay longer, but I'm so glad I ran into you.
Scale of 1 to 10?
Well, it's tough. I mean, let's leave room for next year, but I think it'll get me back, right? And we can kind of keep up on that, throughout the year.
It's great, man. I mean, this is actually my first time here. The Boca, the resort itself is amazing. So far, it's early days. It's day 1 for me. So far, I'd have to give it a 10. I must say, it is just on the grounds alone. I mean, it's just an awesome venue. So, yeah.
Even given that you're paying for it, you'd still come back.
Well, Rick actually did give me a comp ticket in the end, so I have to be fair there. But yeah, I would recommend it. It's a great spot, and yeah, I'm enjoying myself.
Well, I've only been here a half day. I haven't even walked the full floor yet, but this is easily a 9 or a 10 out of conferences.
Okay.
So
Even if it's Florida in July?
right. Hey, it's nice and cool in here, though.
It is nice and cool. What is it, like 71?
I was a little worried about that, but hey, it's great. I love it, and you're near the beach.
This is a fantastic conference. I mean, we go to lots of conferences. They have slightly different varieties. Sometimes there are lots of one-on-one meetings. This is a sort of more free form. There's really fantastic speakers, and then there's a caliber of investor here. They're really engaged. They're really knowledgeable. They really love mining and understand sort of the macro argument for commodities. We're having a great time here. We're meeting a lot of really good, hopefully potential investors who we're trying to convert. So yeah, this is a fantastic event.
Well, you used to attend these things as an investor,
Yes.
not too long ago. So as an investor, what would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would rate it high, like 9 or 10. And the reason that I say that is because most other conferences out there, any issuer can attend. A conference like this, there has been a bar that an issuer has to get past, which is the Rick Rule bar. And there's another conference called the Metals Investor Forum. Similarly, that's hosted by a bunch of newsletter writers who don't take money from companies, and you have to be a stock that they have bought. Anytime that there's a bar over which an issuer has to get, and that bar is created by someone whose knowledge and assessment of mining stocks I respect, I think those conferences are the best for investors. So this one and the Metals Investor Forum are the two that come to mind.
Maybe an unfair question given your relationship with Rick. What would you grade this conference on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, we came here before we had a relationship with Rick. It was great. I've been coming to this conference in its various incarnations probably for 20 years. We love it. We think it's one of the greatest out there. We love the people that come. They're enthusiastic, they're self-directed, they think for themselves, and that's kind of the client we like to talk to.
This conference this year, it's up there in an 8 for sure. It's been great attendance, really good shareholders. The really cool thing that I'm finding is, so Rick's been involved in 2 of our financings now. I actually have shareholders who came in solely because of Rick, like, hey, if it's good enough for Rick, it's good enough for me. But what I really like is I'm getting to meet those shareholders. They're actually getting really excited about the company itself, not just because Rick's involved, but what we're actually doing. So that's been a nice change. Yeah.
Most people who watch my stuff watch me because Rick comes on, so I know how that feels too.
We use our IR budget. We extend that as much as possible. And so, yeah, we're very, very selective with the number of in-person conferences I attend. This is one that I attended last year for the first time. I expect I'll be attending this as long as I'm invited by Rick. This is the #1 conference for meeting retail and high net worth investors out of the US, but even globally. I mean, there's some investors here from Canada and South America as well. And so, yeah, no, this is a 10 out of 10 in terms of retail-oriented, high net worth, very, very engaging audience. And so I've been at the booth here, and the first day, on the Sunday night, we had probably 50 or 60 people come by, and it's just myself at the booth. And so I've been constantly talking to investors, constantly talking to shareholders, potential shareholders, giving everyone an update. So it's an excellent use of time.
You know, I think Rick's conferences are outstanding. I would have to put it in the 9 to 10 category, just in terms of it's not huge numbers of people, but the people that are here are investors, a huge number of qualified investors here. We've had lots of good conversations, and a lot of people that are here because, you know, Rick brought eyes to our story. So, you know, we like the fact that Rick has helped us in that regard.
Oh, it's definitely top quartile. You know, 1 to 10, I would say. You know, I'm going to go with a lofty 9, 8.5 or 9, and the reason being is that in order to come to this conference, you have to be vetted by Rick Rule. If those don't know, Rick Rule is a mining icon, legend, and you know, his stamp of approval to say, okay, you're worthy of coming to my conference, is definitely, I think, is comforting to the attendees. And then he's been able to attract a demographic here that is actually like worldwide. I met someone earlier today from Brazil. You know, we're in Florida for those that don't know. So he traveled here to Florida from Brazil to speak with mining companies, to hear the roster of speakers. And so I think Rick's been able to draw a demographic that your traditional conference doesn't necessarily target. And that's a high net worth retail investor, and that is either has a lot of exposure to mining or just starting to look at mining or commodities as a place to park their capital. So it definitely ticks all the boxes, and obviously the venue is phenomenal as well.
I think it's excellent. Formerly with Altus, my prior company, we attended the similar sort of conference in Vancouver, the Spot conference, so there are similarities to that. But I think you've got investors here that have obviously followed Rick for some time and really understand the market. They're patient. They know that there's perhaps a big opportunity coming in gold stocks, in metal stocks in general, what's going on in the world just now. And so some interesting conversations, people who really do understand the backdrop as to why things are as they are, but also the opportunity in the mining space just now in terms of valuations, and hopefully the abilities to make some serious money in the next couple of years.
So in a scale of 1 to 10?
It's got to be pretty high, sort of 8, 9 or so, I'd say. It's right up there.
Look, on a retail conference, it's 10. It's very, very good. It's not BMO, because that's institution. It's not Denver, which is institution, but on a retail conference, it's definitely the best.
This is a great conference. This is the first time we've been here. Rick Rule's been a shareholder for a while, but we just had not gotten around to coming here. So I like this conference. The New Orleans conference that Brian London puts on is a really good one. It's a good format because you've got good speakers and breakout sessions where you can have a luncheon or a half-hour, more smaller group style engagement. And then people can just come by the booth like this and
annoying reporters, stuff like that.
Come talk to us and hear what we're about.
So I'm going to put conferences in 2 different categories. So you have your industry conferences where you've got your corporates, your institutions, right? And so there's that type of conference, and then there's a conference like this, which is more of a retail-oriented conference. I would say this is the best retail conference in the world for resource investing. Okay. Number 1, and the caliber of speakers, the caliber of companies. This is number 1 in the world for retail conferences.
So you'd rate it a 9, a 10, something like that?
I'd give this conference an 11 out of 10. I think it's the number 1 conference for retail, and I'd give Beaver Creek the number 1 conference for, and again, that represents the size of company I am, right? So I'd say Beaver Creek and the Rule Symposium are the 2, but then you look at PDAC's a wonderful conference as well. So
this is one of our favorite conferences of the year. Yeah, it's in the top 3.
Okay, so on the scale of 1 to 10?
I'm going to go with 8.5.
That's good. What would it take for you to rate it at 10?
Well, we'd always like to see more investors, and we would like to see those investors be exuberant. That will come with market activity.
Oh, look, it's a very specific private event. Obviously, very lucky to get an invite. Rick
has many investments in the industry, as most people know. So to be one of his select companies invited, obviously very privileged and to be here. But it's great to see a number of shareholders that have been supporting the company for a long time.
I like the politically correct answer, but I'm going to make you give me a number. What do you think?
Oh, look, Rick always gives scores on these things, so I'll return the favour. But no, this year looks to be probably a solid 8 out of 10 so far, but we're not done.
I'm really kind of honestly very impressed with the quality of people and the quality of the companies that Rick has brought. For retail conferences, I'd say it's probably one of the best out there.
Okay. So I'm still going to make you give me a number, though.
I'll give Rick a 10.
Oh, it's a 10 for sure. No, it's actually better than a lot of the other conferences we've been to. Especially the pure, more kind of retail-focused conferences. I'd say it's really good, really high quality.
Yeah, I'd say absolutely towards that 10 mark. I mean, I think what I've been really impressed about with Rick and his investors is the how educated they are. I think the understanding of LifeZone, the amount of work people have done. So clearly, Rick and his investment community here, they're very well educated. They ask sharp questions, and I think that makes the time spent here, very fruitful because. There's other types of events where people can come and introduce themselves for the first time. Who are you? Most of the approaches we've had have gotten into some pretty detailed questions about LifeZone and our project in Tanzania and Kabanga. So that's quite impressive.
Well, it's my first time here, so I'm very happy. I think it's closer to 10, but it's my first time here, so I'm very happy I decided to come after Rick, I guess, started buying our shares and we just said we need to go. No, we don't have a big investor base, so we wanted to build our investor base. Most of our volume happens in Canada, so I think for us the focus going forward has been to build the U.S. investor base and then eventually transitioning the main board, the NYC or the NASDAQ.
Yeah, it's really good. I'd say it certainly scores very highly. I think the reason we like to attend is it's a very different investor base than we're usually exposed to. These are people that we don't meet day to day in our business, and so. Rick is obviously a fantastic promoter. He's a shareholder in our business, and we come really to get a whole new perspective on investors and new investors that might want to be shareholders and partners with us as we develop our project.
The conference, it's very good. I'm quite pleased with this one. I'd say it's a high 8.
Okay. What would make it a 10 for you?
What would make it a 10? I'd like to see a few more sort of the U.S. institutions here.
You sound like you've come from the land down under.
Indeed.
How do you find this conference? Is it worth coming all the way?
Absolutely. So this is my second year at the Rick Rule conference, and we like that it's a true investor conference. We like that Rick Rule puts his money where his mouth is, and he's a significant shareholder of our company, and we think that's not something that you get from any other conference. That the guy who runs the conference is a significant shareholder. And at this conference last year, we met one of Rick's most successful people inside, not inside his organisation, but a woman who continually presents at Rick Rule, Nomi Prins. She came down to Brazil, looked at our project, and she's joined our board. So we think that's an enormous vote of confidence between us and Rick and Nomi, and so we'll be continuing to come back.
What would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 this conference?
I think right now a 10, solid 10.
Oh, this is a 10. I mean, it's such a good conference. You've got a curated group of companies here, the Rule Symposium, they go ahead and they do all that. And then on the other side, you've got a group of investors who are all like-minded in their approach to mining investment. And Rick's done a good job of educating them. He's given them a toolbox. You can see it when they come and ask questions to us. They know what to ask, and they clearly understand what these companies are all about. So I think it's a win-win for both sides, frankly.
Very good. I mean, Rick's been a big supporter of mine over the years, and I've been a big supporter of his conferences. They're always well structured. It gives time for people to get out and get around the booth.
We've been coming here for 15 years. Rick Rule is a major shareholder. This is an 11.
It's a great conference. Rick is very dedicated. He has a really great people. And it's an honor to be included, to be with the group of other companies that are here. They're all terrific companies. To work with the peers that I really respect, and it's a real honor. And myself as an investor, I invest in many of these companies. Of course, I invest most in Riverside. We're delighted our stock has already gone up 20% in the first day here at the conference. As people come and see, they get to hear the story and understand the unlocked value of Riverside. So I really like this conference.
You know, Rick Rule is a legend, as we all know. I rate it on the fact that, and we go to there's a lot of great conferences out there. We go to Beaver Creek, we go to the Denver Gold Show. We're always at the invite-only BMO show in Miami. We go to that every year. They're all incredible. But for a show really focused on precious metals, what I really love about this one is the quality of the investors that come, but the organization's incredible. I mean, Rick, just look at the show he puts on, and he has a following like no other.
Yeah. Scale of 1 to 10, though?
Oh, I'd rate this a 10.
Look, we're producing critical minerals. The US is very interested in both titanium and graphite. It's the largest rutile deposit on the planet, the second largest graphite. It's strategic for the US outside of, everybody's trying to secure long-term secure supply ex-China. So from a strategic perspective, there's a big reason why we're here. We've just listed on the OTC QX, and we're trying to get some more traction with North American investors. I think there's a good story for US investors, and that's part of the reason why we are here.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate it?
Yeah, pretty good. So I'd say probably 8 out of 10.
I've been to a lot of conferences. I would rate this very highly. I rate it as a 6 or 7 in the conferences I've been to. Very, very good. And what I like about it, it's a select group of investors and it's a select group of companies. It's not big scale. It's not. You don't get diluted. Meet very, very good investors, and there's good discussions as well.
It's funny you say I'm going to rate it high, and then you say 6 or 7. Other people, when they say I'm going to rate it high, they've told me I'm going to rate it an 11. Why? What would it take for you to rate this conference a 10?
So, because I've never been to this conference before, and the expectation was I expected it to be bigger, a bigger conference with more selectivity. It's quite small, in my opinion. It's should be a bigger group.
All right, Joanne, you've been coming to these things for a while now. You put on your own conference. You probably have the most experience in conferences out of everybody here. What would you rate this conference on a scale of 1 to 10?
Definitely a 10 plus. And, Rick and I, we go back a long way. And when I used to be an IR person, capital markets person, I used to bring my clients to his conference. And it's only gotten better and better. And by moving it here, this is an absolute amazing location. And I think that is really the key for conferences nowadays, is that, it's not enough to give the issuers and attendees. It's not enough just to give them a basic conference. People are really looking for an experience, which is, I think, one of the reasons we've been successful with ours too in Quebec City. But Rick does an amazing job. His speakers are amazing. His panelists are amazing. And companies really get a benefit from being here because they get introduced to investors that they would normally not have a chance to meet face to face.
What about as an investor? I've seen you roaming the hills basically as an investor yourself. I suppose you put your own money into this. What would you rate this conference as an investor?
As an investor, definitely a 10 plus. Again, the location is amazing. The quality of the issuers is excellent. And as an investor, if I'm a retail investor, high net worth investor, I don't get that opportunity to meet these people face to face. Sure, I can listen to a YouTube clip, or I can, pick up a phone maybe and even call them. But to actually sit in front of these people face to face, that's a whole different thing.
Hopefully you're listening to Resource Talks when you're listening.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
What would you rate your own conference if you rate this one 10 plus?
Well,
20
no,
out of 10?
I wouldn't say 20 out of 10, but I would say that, we've grown our own conference 150% since we first started 3 years ago in 22. And just year over year, we have increased our investor profile by 30%. So I think that we're doing the job that we need to do to make sure that investors and issuers come first. And how do we do that? We bring in great companies, we have amazing panels, great speakers, and we provide a great experience for them. And our networking is, I think personally, and I may be biased, but I think our networking is one of the best networking conferences in the business.
So I'm standing here with Trevor Hall of Mining Stock Daily and the president of Clear Commodity Network. Trevor, you do a lot of these things. I mean, you go around the globe doing, how many conferences do you do a year?
Great question. Probably too many. Probably about 6.
What did you don't like your wife and kids anymore? You're just trying to get away?
You know, I'm fortunate enough to come home and they still remember who I am. So let's go with that. Yeah.
What would you rate this conference on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, listen, this is my first year at the Rule Symposium for Natural Resource Investing. I didn't quite know. I mean, I had pretty good expectations. Anything Rick Rule does, he has a pretty high standard of things when he puts things together. And so I've heard that this was a good show, and I wasn't disappointed. It was really good. It's small. I like smaller kind of conferences because you have really good conversations. You know, I can go record an interview. 20 minutes later, I'm back on the exhibitor floor, having good conversations, talking to companies, people I work with, or other just investors, and see where their what their thesis is, or ideas that they're sharing. So I like that. And when you go to a bigger conference, everybody's scrambling, running around, trying to go to the next meeting. So I do like the smaller stuff.
Yeah.
Myself, yeah.
So what would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, geez. Wow. I would rate it pretty high. I'm a mountain guy. I do not do well in heat and humidity. That's why I'm heading back to higher altitude tomorrow morning. So it's just a 2-day thing for me.
Good. I'm still going to make you give me a number, though.
Oh, come on.
What do you do? How high is it? 9? I go 8, 9?
I'd say 8.5 or 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Colorado. It was 10.
Of course.
What would you? So it's only the climate. What else do you think? What do you think really makes a good conference to begin with? And I'm thinking about people watching this, retail investors. What makes a good conference? How do they pick? There's 25 conferences out there.
Yeah, listen. I think one thing I picked up was the keynote discussions in the last 48 hours were top notch. I listened to Naomi Prinz, to Danielle DiMartino Booth, and to Grant Williams, and those were the 3 I was able to sit down and actually, engage with and listen to them in their entirities. And I walked away with kind of this oh my god type of moments, right? Like that, consuming information, ideas that I maybe wasn't thinking about, and then I try to think big things, but there's always certain aspects of how a global economy is moving that maybe you missed, and I think I took away some very new ideas from those 3. I do think that it is important in these conferences to have good keynotes, be a contrarian as far as maybe you're not such a gold bug. It's nice to hear the other side of the story. It's also nice, I want to hear new ideas. I think a lot of times in the mining industry, especially these conferences, we get the same round of keynote speakers, right? And you see it on the media floor. Like, we're over there's 5 or 6 of us, and a lot of us are interviewing the same people, and probably having some of the similar conversations. What I'd like to see is different angles, different corners of the market, different participants come in and bring a different angle. So we try to get a bigger full picture of how things are shaping up.
Right, I'm standing here with Kai Hoffman of SOAR Financial. And Kai, you do a lot of these things. I see you all around the globe, really. You do your own conference. What would you rate this conference on a scale of 1 to 10?
It's a really good conference. It's a different conference, different format. It's of course based around Rick Rule and his audience and what he works on and what he wants to drive home. And he's invited some phenomenal keynote speakers. I think there's some really good companies. The selection has been quite good in my opinion. So I would rate it quite highly actually, because keynotes are great, companies are good, and you get to mingle, you get to network quite a bit with the investors present.
Well, Rick is standing right there actually,
yeah,
so I'm gonna make you give me a number. Give me a number.
I think it's a 9.
Okay.
It's between 8 and 9, I'd say.
Okay.
So it's really high up there.
What would make it a 10 for you?
Oh, good question. Couple things, like you see when you're an organizer of an event as well, like little things, like where maybe emphasis even more on networking for the media partners and others, and it's a good event. Like, it's tough to criticize. It's more little things.
Have you been to a conference recently where you thought, oh, this is a 4, I'm not coming back?
I've been to quite a few, yes. But you learn quickly to avoid those. You do them once and never again.
Yeah, I've seen those. There's one in Frankfurt. I'm just kidding. What would you rate your own conference?
That's a mean one. It's a 10, of course.
I thought you could say a 20, maybe.
No, it's like out of this world. No, it's like we got to be realistic. We're a different format. We're a boutique conference in comparison. Not as retail heavy focused maybe as some of the other conferences. So it's different. It's tough sometimes to compare apples and oranges. We try to achieve the same goal, getting exposure for the companies. It's not based around me, so it's not a Kai Hoffman conference. It's based around the mining companies that are supporting it, sponsoring it, and our goal is to drive value for the mining companies and the exploration companies. If they get value out of it, I get value out of it as the organizer.
I'm there twice a year, the year organizing. It's quite a few companies. I mean, you have 30 companies typically, on an average-ish.
Yeah, it's 30 companies, 6 keynotes, a couple panels. So our mission is really to educate as well. We've built a community. For us, it is important that the investors talk amongst each other as well, exchange ideas. We have some really high caliber, like finfluencers there as well, to sort of help educate, maybe exchange ideas with some of the other attendees. So it's become a really nice community that we've built.
And you have one coming up this fall, or winter, whatever you call it, November.
Yeah, November 21st and 22nd, back in Frankfurt, Thursday, Friday. Really looking forward to it. Already, the roster looks really good already, keynote-wise, and really looking forward to it.
I'm standing here with Tom Bodrovics of Palisades Gold Radio. Tom, what would you rate this conference on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, considering the number of conferences I've been to over the past, let's say, 5 years, it's got to be a 10. I haven't been to very many. I'm using this more so as networking to learn for myself. I'm always trying to learn. But the quality of the interactions that I've had here, the quality of the speakers, it's been excellent, and it's also been very well organized.
So what do you do when you come to the conference? Are you sitting in on the presentations, or are you talking to companies? What does that look like for you?
More so sitting in on the presentations, also just getting to know people. I think the real value of a lot of these interactions, a lot of these conferences, is actually the person-to-person interactions, rather than just what you're going to learn. You and I do interviews all the time. We know a lot of this information. We have it available at our fingertips all the time. But getting back to actually having person-to-person interactions, conversations, learning from each other and actually interacting face-to-face is something that we don't get the chance to do as much anymore, and that's where I find the real value of these conferences to be.
I think that's also maybe challenging for attendees and visitors who don't go to many of these things. Is like, how do you strike a conversation with someone? Like, if someone wants to talk to you, which I assume a lot of people do, how do they come up? How do they approach you? How do they approach other people here?
Well, it's kind of funny because yesterday morning, the first day of the conference, I was kind of sitting in the room thinking to myself, man, it must be really overwhelming for the average person that's just starting to get into this space. It's a lot to take in. I kind of like the idea of the name tags, even though they're kind of dorky, because you can literally just go up to somebody and introduce yourself. That's part of this person-to-person interaction that I'm talking about that we need to kind of get back to and get better at, because everybody here is approachable and friendly enough to talk to, and you never know what kind of value you can get by just having a person-to-person interaction. Like you said, obviously there's a lot of people that want to come up and talk to me. I'm more than happy to be approached to talk to anybody, and it has been very fulfilling and rewarding to get feedback, positive or negative, on my show, on anything that anybody thinks. And once you kind of like get the formalities out of the way, it's really interesting to see what people are thinking and what questions they might have, which gives me a better pulse on how to make my presentations better, and also what people need to know or find the biggest holes in their knowledge when they're getting into this space, or even if they've been in this space for a while.
All right, so that's it for the opinions. I am back home now, by the way, just kind of finishing up on this video. Again, I would like to know what you thought. I mean, you saw some of the shots, or if you attended, and if you said hi to me again, thanks for that, very cool. But if you attended, or if you didn't attend, but you just saw the shots, what do you think? What do you think of this conference? Is it worth going to Florida in July? It is inside. I joke about this, but the climate inside was wonderful. I wore a full suit all those days, so that was all fine, of course. But what did you think? What would you rate this conference on a scale of 1 to 10? And if you feel disappointed for missing out on these on the conversations of all these guest speakers or going there talking to the companies and whatnot, as Rick mentioned at the beginning, you can play the recording of everything out of this conference on demand for the remainder of 2024. And there's going to be a link to that in the description down below. It is an affiliate link, so if you end up buying a ticket, there's going to be a couple of bucks in there for me as well. Hopefully, potentially offset some of the costs of the flying and the hotel. Expensive hotel. So if I had to, it is an expensive hotel. So it was 300. Well, luckily it was not 3,000, but it was $300 a night to stay in the Boca Raton Resort is what it is. I call it a hotel. I don't even know if it's I don't go on vacation that often. So is there a difference between a hotel and a resort? Possibly. Anyways, 300 bucks a night, which apparently is a steal. I mean, it's some sort of a Rick Rule special price, because typically when you go there, even if it is off season, you're looking at per night rates of like 800 to $1,000 a night. If it's high season, whatever it might be, it's like 1,500. It's extremely expensive to stay there. So staying there was a luxury and a pleasure for me. I still found it expensive to my taste. I wouldn't typically pay $300 for hotels anywhere. So there was that part, and then flights. It took us, first of all, it took us 24 hours to get there, door to door. That is because we had to take a train to Frankfurt, so Brussels to Frankfurt, fly out of Frankfurt. Of course, wait for the planes. We were there like 3 hours in advance, and then the flight was like 9.5 out 10 hours, something along those lines. Then go through immigration or whatever it might be in the US, where you have to answer all these questions like where are you coming in? Maybe we should have tried the southern border. That might have been easier. But anyways, yeah, it took us 24 hours door to door. Flights were expensive. I think it was something like $1,000 a piece. I went there with my wife. She's obviously the cameraman on the camera woman on this. And anyways, yes, it was it was expensive. So if you don't want to necessarily go there and you want to watch it on demand, again, there's a link in the description to that down below. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, you have to subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's not optional. You have to also click the bell icon that says all notifications, because that's going to send you a little notification on your phone to come and watch the next 2 videos. So the next video that I'm going to post is going to be my interviews with the guest speakers. So the guest speakers that you saw in here, I did a longer interview with all of them. I think 10 or 15 of them or whatever it might have been. And I'm going to publish that in the coming days. So stay tuned for that. And then a couple of days after that, I'm going to publish my interviews with the companies. So I'm rambling at this point. I am tired. This was a long trip for me. So I'll leave it at that. But thank you for watching. And yeah, subscribe. Thanks so much.